What's up, buddy shoppers? Gelsomino here with...
Marilu.
I really don't like that intro. I liked our other one better.
Oh, okay. Why is it just too like for you?
I don't know. Yeah, that seems too generic. I don't know. The other one seemed a little cooler to me, but I could be wrong.
I thought you were.
What?
I thought you were working on our own little promo thing.
By working on it, I mean I have to give it to somebody else to work on.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So what's up, body shoppers? How's everybody doing? It's Hump Day, Wednesday. I don't know if I've ever said that on Wednesday, calling it Hump Day. Have I?
I don't think so. I don't know.
So as you can probably tell, Marilu is back in her studio office.
Yes.
In her studio office. I'm in mine downstairs in the basement of the building.
You were not.
All right, it's the first floor. So thank you for everybody joining us. I know you've got lots of things that you could be doing. We got I'm gonna do some shout outs. I got Donald, what's up? Laura Harlan, hello, how are you? Welcome back. Let's see, haven't been, but want to come out, see how the environment is. What's up, Clifford? We'll throw some of these up. Well, you definitely need to come check it out then. And if not our club, then, somebody else's club, but you definitely should check it out if it's something that interests you. So last week kind of got cut short, and to no fault of anyone, it just happened that way. So we didn't get to fully discuss all of the questions and comments that were posed to us last week. So we're going to try and wrap them up tonight, and we'll take whatever time necessary to do so. Please call me Cliff. Only my Cliff says, please call me Cliff. Only my family calls me by my given name. Got it. I've got plenty of nicknames. Some I can't, I don't know if I can say them on Facebook or YouTube, but anyway, I'm having a glass of wine tonight, trying to, I don't know, mellow out. It's been kind of a funky day. I don't know why.
Oh.
But anyway, so if I don't seem like my usual lively self, exciting,
Gregarious.
Oh, gregarious. I like that word. Gregarious. Okay, so we'll get right into it. Need to have an RSVP list. We do. You just don't get to see it.
Yeah. It's on no basis.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a crapshoot for sure. But that's just one of those things that we don't do, and we haven't done for many years now. So I wouldn't expect that to change anytime soon. So, what else we got? Everyone else has those kind of days. Yeah, that's very true, Laura. Yep. All right. So, let's get down to it. Or do you want to talk about your retreat at all?
Well, I think some people got to see me last week.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, it was the first day of my retreat, and I was already a little too gregarious, I think.
Is that code word for tipsy?
Maybe. But either way, if I said anything out of form or offended anyone,
Don't, please. Offended anyone. Oh my God. Yeah. You know what? Actually, Laura's commenting on the RSVP thing, and I just want to respond back to John real quick. So this is super important for everybody to understand, and those of you who think that the guest list is important, it's not, and I'll explain why. More times than not, the guest list literally has no impact, or let me rephrase that, has very little correlation to how many people actually show up. And many, many, many times the list will be small or appear small, and tons of people show up. I mean, we've had guest lists with 50 or 60 people on it, and 150 people show up. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we've had the opposite, where we've had guest lists where there's 120, 150 people show up, and half of that number shows up. So my answer is this: come to the events that connect to you. Mm-hmm. Only because if that event speaks to you, you're probably going to have a good time regardless. If you're the type of person that can only have a good time because there's a lot of people, I don't know what to say. Only show up on nights that are typically super busy. Halloween, St. Patrick's Day, New Year's, maybe schoolgirl night, because to be frank, I've had some wonderful, amazing times in small groups of people versus, I've been to huge events. We've been to events with thousands of people. That means absolutely nothing. So, and I'm not trying to down talk or anything what John was commenting. It's just there's this weird notion that the guest list somehow correlates to how great of a time you're going to have. That's my opinion. Take it for whatever it's worth, which really isn't worth much.
Well, and I can attest to, we have a couple of people that as soon as an event gets posted, they RSVP religiously every week. Doesn't mean that they attend.
That's very true.
They just put themselves on the list. And you all know who you are. No.
That's for sure.
It also has a correlation to how important people's privacy is. If you see someone at the club, then you see them at the club. You're both there for the same reasons. You might be seeing a fellow coworker, but what's going to happen come Monday? It's not like you're both going to stand at the water cooler and be like, hey, well, I saw so-and-so at this club, because they're going to be like, and what were you doing there?
Unless they hooked up.
Well, yeah. And then they'll be in the hall closet talking.
Perhaps.
But anyway. Yeah.
Wait, Cliff says Hump Day is the struggle bus day. Thursday is when it gets better.
There you go. So you got to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
But normally, that's something that we look at every time we see a list or something for an event. It's people's privacy is first and foremost important.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want is someone to be able to see a list, or potentially copy it, or things of that nature.
And
it's also a reason why we don't.
Yeah. And that's a great point. There's been many, many, many comments from members that are grateful that we don't put a guest list out for a myriad of reasons. Some things like maybe they have a quote unquote stalker, or they're trying to avoid somebody. I know for a fact that there are people that will stalk the guest lists of other, like an SLS or other clubs, looking to see who's attending, and then they only attend because that person's attending. And that's, I don't want to say it's harassment, because it's not harassment, but there could be somebody that you don't want to see anymore. And that's, anyway, I digress. It's just, if it's that bad, John, give me a call. I'll make it right. If it was such a terrible time, then let me know and we'll make it right somehow. So, because that's how we roll. Yep. All right. Well, let's get into some fun stuff, hopefully. So last week's subjects, we talked about, I think, about three things. Mm-hmm. And I'll just quickly go through what's left on the list from last week. Cuckolding hot wife, privacy in the lifestyle or lack of understanding of those who came out of the closet. We touched on this briefly last week, but we'll talk about it more. These are some important ones, it seems like. How to tell your partner your fantasies without freaking them out or judging them or judging you. Mm-hmm. And if they do judge you, how to explain that if they are comfortable with the fantasy when it's time to pack up and move on, and asking for a friend. When you're testing out a fantasy and it becomes a kink, when did you know? How to introduce vanilla partners to the lifestyle, and mentorship mentee. So that's what's left on the list. That's quite a bit. So which one would you like to start with, Marilu?
Well, we're already kind of like on the subject matter about privacy. And I think the question or the scenario that was kind of being drawn out is, let's say for like example on Facebook, you might meet someone at the club and you exchange numbers or you friend each other on Facebook. You got to be a little cautious with those things because not everyone, again, is out openly or to their family. And what you might think is a fun meme or a fun sexual joke could lead other family members or people to be kind of like, well, who's this person that you know, and why are they being so provocative on your Facebook page, which has pictures of your kids playing softball or, family members and things of that nature. And I think, I know there's a lot of different groups and entities that are in private Facebook groups, but you have to be cautious that you're not commenting on their vanilla one versus their private one. And I think that, the easiest way to figure those out is a lot of people, from what I've seen, is that they generally will have a combined Facebook page in which it's like their both first names and so forth. And just kind of have that understanding of who it is that you can talk to, how you can talk to them, and so forth. And I think that was basically what the question entailed.
Yeah, I think so. And to take that even a step further, let's just assume that both parties are out. That doesn't automatically make it appropriate to post sexual innuendo or even sexual things on Facebook. I mean, setting aside the fact that Facebook typically doesn't allow it, but even if it's sexual innuendo, just because they're out doesn't mean that they want all of their business out there for everybody to see or whatever. There are different degrees of being out even. So that's important to keep in mind also. So just because somebody says, oh yeah, I'm cool with, or my friends and family know or whatever, that doesn't mean that they want to see nefarious pictures or memes or whatever, on their feed. So just be mindful of that. You actually told me a story, I think it was today. Yeah, today we were talking about somebody you had interaction with over at the retreat, who I think you said maybe inadvertently was outed.
Yeah, someone just inadvertently posted something and it was someone else brought it to their attention. As towards why is this on your page and what's the correlation with this individual? So yeah, you always just have to be cautious, and you never know what people's jobs are, how they might be portrayed. Just like Cliff said, communication is key. I wanted to say Clifford. I'm sorry. So Cliff. If you go to an event, you meet people, that's great. That's fine and dandy. You could jump on the Facebook bandwagon or Instagram and follow each other. But again, what happens at the club stays at the club.
Yeah, that's super important. And it's understandable that people are excited that they have friends in the lifestyle and they can, maybe communicate a little more openly. it's just be mindful of that when you're, friending people on Facebook, things like that. So actually, and it's probably more about social media than anything, but this holds true if you see somebody out somewhere.
Right.
Marilu and I see people out, I don't want to say frequently, but frequently enough to, say like we don't typically engage with somebody unless they come to us first.
Right.
If they acknowledge us or whatever, I mean, we'll say hi, wave or whatever, but we're certainly not going to, we don't want to embarrass anybody. And more so because I don't want to say we're public figures. That wouldn't be fair to say that, but our faces are out there a little bit more, maybe a lot more than others. So,
yeah.
But at any rate,
I'm used to getting the, seeing someone at Walmart or, even at like a fair or something, public setting where you just kind of both look at each other. It's like you give the official nod, like, yeah, how you doing? And you keep walking, It's like, what? Did you see somebody? No. It's just a little itch,
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Laura says you need to be as appropriate for the variety of audiences you're involved with. Agreed. Welcome Taco Maniac from Twitch. Taco Maniac says, damn, I can tell you guys have sexual tension. Yeah, maybe. Are you offering to help with that? And if so, with whom? Let's see. So I gotta stop saying I'm really trying to be cognizant of saying Let's see. So Clifford says, with me personally, they were a stripper in Pittsburgh. If you're going to give me $1 and blow on my backside, then blow my backside, then you can just call me Cliff or Cowboy. Great.
I can be totally like, how you doing, Cowboy?
Listen, I was a stripper also, just nobody ever saw it. So we got that in common. Bros for life.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think we kind of covered that. Do you feel like we got that?
Oh, well, I do want to kind of add one thing to that.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media, I know that there are some people out there that will tend to friend somebody without actually having met them, only because they have mutual friends, and the lifestyle that they see. Also be, cautious of that. I have had people come to me and say, oh, well, someone friended me but they were friends with so-and-so and I just went ahead. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting bombarded with private messages and then they're reaching out like, do you know this person? Well, maybe not, but why did you accept the friend request if you yourself didn't know them? So this goes out to the ladies and the gentlemen. Don't get caught up in that whole social media garnering of how many friends you have in a group or whatever. If you really value your privacy, then, pay attention to who it is that you're clicking yes to. Before you've actually clicked yes. The last thing you want is to get in some like weird back and forth messaging with somebody where you don't know what their intentions are, or they're throwing out things like, well, oh, I was at the same party you were at, but they're not willing to say what party it was, or, little things like that, look for the red flags. And again, if you've never actually met the person, don't just go clicking and say yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because that would seem like common sense to me, but unfortunately, it happens a lot where people friend people they don't even know, assuming that they're just on the lifestyle or whatever. Especially profiles that are not genuine. And what I mean by that is it's Mark and Susie or, some sort of weird, cowboy and cowgirl or, whatever. I mean, just, be very cautious of that unless you really personally know that person or those people. Don't just accept the friend request. I mean, I feel like I'm talking to like a teenage kid. Like, don't get in the car with strangers.
Like sometimes I'll get friend requests. Then the first thing I do is I look at their profile. I look to see, yes, what mutual friends we have in common. And if we have 50 female friends in common, and the friend request is coming from a gentleman, and then there's nothing else in their profile, like maybe one or two posts, that's a red flag,
Yeah, for sure.
So,
For sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So just be mindful of that, especially if you're very private. I mean, if you don't give a shit, then friend whoever the fuck you want. But
yeah.
All right. So okay, so we got privacy and a lifestyle out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two that are kind of similar. I think so. There are two. There was how to tell your partner about your fantasies without freaking them out. And then the other one is how to introduce vanilla partners to the lifestyle. And they're really two different questions because having fantasies is different from introducing somebody to the lifestyle and by the lifestyle, we mean, well, maybe not. Because to me, when I say lifestyle, because I err a lot more on the swinger side of it. But kink, people that are in kink scene, they call it the lifestyle too. So maybe they can be one and the same, but we'll address them separately. So this one's really important to me personally, how to tell your partners your fantasies without freaking them out or judging you, how to explain if they do freak out. And when is it time to pack up and move on? That's a pretty deep subject.
Yeah.
That's a deep subject, especially the last part of that.
Yeah.
So let me preface this by saying, we're giving you our opinion about these scenarios, and every situation is different. No two situations are going to be the same. So please take what we say with a grain of salt. And if it applies to your situation, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But don't take what we say as gospel. And anybody, and I'm going to say this, anybody who says otherwise, anybody who says that, oh, this is the way you have to handle it, and this is what you should do, run as far away from them as you can. Because every situation is different and nobody's an expert in that. Not us, not anybody. And I would challenge anybody who says that they are, about that. Anyway, so there's my caveat. I feel like we've talked a lot about communication and with kinks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm going to speak from experience, my own personal experience in talking about fantasies, because I would imagine that most people have a lot of trepidation talking to their partner or anybody else really about their fantasies if they've never done so before. If you've led a relatively stereotypical life relationship, sexual relationship, talking about your fantasies, the things you masturbate to, the things that you think about, the things that you've never told anybody can be extremely difficult to bring up. And, so for me, the easiest way to do it is just to do it. Kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off. And it really shouldn't matter what the fantasy is.
All right.
Some are probably a little more maybe deeper than others. telling your partner you want to be spanked while you're having sex, that's not super nefarious.
No.
Telling your partner you want to have an orgy with a bunch of people, or that you're bisexual, or that you want to experience, you want to be tied up and demeaned, or whatever. Those get into some more serious kinks and fetishes, and those are going to require a lot of dialogue.
Well, and I want to make sure that people understand that, fantasies consist of your erotic imagination. Not every fantasy is something that you actually mean for it to happen, versus a kink. And that's where it comes into that, when does a fantasy cross over to being a kink? If you've had that dialogue, that internal dialogue, where this is something that just keeps popping up in your imagination, your erotic imagination consistently, and it's more than that turn on, then once you experience it, it becomes a kink. It becomes something that
it can become a kink.
Yeah.
You can experience it one time and be like, it really just didn't live up to the fantasy.
Right.
You'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, delving into the little deeper part of that, when you're having communication with your partner about it, and your partner does not respond in a way that you hoped they would respond, mm-hmm. What do you do with that? I have some strong opinions on that. So, I guess my feeling is, and Marilu and I talk about this quite often in our personal life. And by personal life, I mean, we have discussions about fantasies and kinks or whatever. This doesn't necessarily correlate to us directly, but, you have to understand that your partner may not be into what you're into. And so this is going to have to go both ways. Maybe they're not into it, and you have to accept that. However, accepting that doesn't mean ignoring it or not exploring it. I think for me, the next conversation would be, okay, well, this is really important to me. This is a part of my sexuality. What can be done to facilitate that? And hopefully your partner understands enough that it's not about wanting to cheat on them or be with another person or whatever, that it's about the kink or it's about the sex or whatever. It's not about a new relationship or about wanting to not be with them. Yeah. And that can be a very touchy and difficult subject to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I was going to say that it's probably harder for women to accept that, but I've talked to plenty of guys that say things like, "Oh, I would never let my wife have sex with another person or do that with somebody else." Mm-hmm. So that really kind of goes both ways. But I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I think for most people, if it's a do or die thing, that this has to be a part of their life, then it also has to be something that you had to have that discussion in the beginning of your relationship. To have it halfway through or, 20 years into your marriage, I'm not saying that, you've wasted your time with this person if they're not accepting. But what I'm saying is then you have to come to some compromises between the two of you as towards, like you said, whether they're willing to help you facilitate and achieving that fantasy, that kink, if they're even willing to just step to the side and allow you to find somebody else to help facilitate that kink and fantasy. Those are all discussions that need to be had. The earlier, the better. But
Of course.
hopefully, of course, but if it ends up being something, like I said, that's like, 5, 10, 20 years down into your relationship, you hope that there's that understanding between the two of you, and that the relationship is solid to have that discussion. Just always remember, people, that jealousy is an emotion. It's an emotion that's in everybody. It's a matter. It's there. It's a matter of how it comes to the surface. It could be that traditional green-eyed monster, you're not gonna this, and da 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 da, and or it could just be that gut-wrenching feeling that it's like, okay, this doesn't sit right with me, but that doesn't mean that it's not right. That feeling's about me and not really about that other person. It's about me and my insecurities, and not about my partner. So
that's great that you said that, though, because that's super important for people to understand. Even those who are experiencing jealousy, it seems like, well, I will tell you that in my past experiences, the jealousy sort of gets turned on the other person, like they're causing the problem. And you hit the nail on the head. The problem isn't the other person or the situation. The problem is the fact that you're experiencing the jealousy because there's something going on inside of you that prevents you from understanding that your partner is coming to you about something that's important to them, and something that they're indicating they need or want out of the relationship, that maybe you're not willing to participate in. And somehow it's an affront to you, or the relationship. And it really, I think it couldn't be further from the truth. It's 100% jealousy is a, like you said, it's an insecurity. And I'll take that a step further, if I may, a defense mechanism against being hurt.
Yes. Because jealousy overall is, it's an emotion, but when you really dig down into what it means, jealousy is you're feeling a sense of loss. A lot of times jealousy is the story that you tell yourself before you've even delved into what that person is actually trying to explain to you or say to you. Those are the underlying feelings that a lot of people experience with jealousy. And once you can pinpoint those, it's like, okay, it's a feeling of loss. Is it really my loss? Is it their loss? Am I really losing anything at all? Because if I'm open and open to receiving what this person wants to share with me, then I'm not really losing out on anything. I'm gaining.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where your partner is sharing something as intimate as their deep, dark fantasies and wanting to experience those things with you or with your blessing, and it being a detractor to your relationship. That to me is, that's a strong indicator that this person wants to be with you and wants to share these things with you, so much so that they're sharing them with you. So rather than looking at it as, oh, they want to be with somebody else, or they want to do this thing with somebody else or whatever, it's that they want to experience it with you, or at least have you involved with it. You're creating a stronger bond rather than a weaker bond. Yes, yeah. Compersion. Exactly. So yeah, I want to respond. Our friend Quinn is watching. You're not jealous. You're envious that we're on TV.
Hey, you're on TV too, and I love what you do.
Yes. I watched your show from the other day. This is Quinn on YouTube. Quinn watching on YouTube. Thank you. Yes, compersion. That's funny you mentioned compersion, because that's something that's come up a few times in my head, and I was going to try and create an event around that I got to figure out how to craft the verbiage and the copy for it. But no, that's a great point, Marilu. I mean, it's not a weakening of the relationship; it's a strengthening of.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you've watched this and you come across that type of situation, and your first emotion is jealousy or fear or whatever else relates to that, default back to that this is your partner talking to you about something that's super difficult to talk about. Especially if you've never been down that road before with your partner. So kind of keep that in mind. Instead of dismissing it out of hand or getting irate about it, really sit back and think about what your partner is attempting to do with you.
Yeah, because ultimately it's with you.
Yeah.
That's why they're coming to you.
So let's talk about hopefully, I think we covered that pretty good, but let's talk about the dark side of this question. Is when is it time to pack up and move on?
Again, each relationship is different. And if this is a conversation that you can't have, and it is so divisive that you feel like you're losing yourself in this relationship, then there's more to it than just this one thing. At least that's how I think. That's my impression of, if it's someone that you love, that you have both equally devoted your lives to, you want to experience everything together and have fun in life, and they come to you with something about, hey, when we had that dirty talk, that's an actual like fantasy that, would you be opposed to us trying to do it? And you adamantly like, no. And then it feels like your relationship has all of a sudden taken this downward spiral. The downward spiral was there before.
Yeah.
There's more to it. And maybe this was just the opening of the envelope.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's definitely some nuances to it. I've heard people say things like, well, so they're willing to end the relationship because they want to do this or they want to do that or they want to be with other people. And my response to that would be, you're willing to end the relationship because you're not willing to allow that. Mm-hmm. So it's that sort of response can easily be turned on its head and pointed back towards the other person. And it's not fair to say that, because the reality is it doesn't. I think this could really translate to virtually anything in a relationship. Not even sexual, but it could translate into many different ways. I mean, people get divorced all the time for a myriad of reasons. Yeah. But I would say ultimately it boils down to a lack of communication, a lack of empathy, a lack of understanding. There are people that don't love each other. There are people in relationships that don't love each other and don't want to be with each other, and that's a totally different thing. But two people can be in love and love being in the relationship with each other, and then something like this can really put a divide. But it is not the thing that puts the divide in. It's the lack of the communication about it and the lack of working together to solve the problem. That is the issue. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. So when is it time to leave? I'm just going to say what I'm thinking, right or wrong, take it for what it's worth. I said at the beginning of this, we're not experts, but if you've really done your best, if you've really done your best to communicate with your partner about the things that are super important to you, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if you want a finger in the butt or you want a blowjob a certain way or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. If you've really made a good effort to have that discussion and work with your partner on it and try and make it work, and they are just flat out no, that's a hard no. It's not going to happen. I don't in any way, shape, or form. Then, maybe it's time to find somebody else or move on. That's just my opinion. For whatever that's worth. And, of course you get into things like kids and jobs and homes and whatever. And so many people stick into bad relationships. I will say I've been that person. You stay in a bad relationship because maybe not a bad relationship, but you stay in a relationship that's not optimal for a myriad of other reasons. And maybe they're noble. But I realized I didn't want to be 60, 70 years old, regretting not having experienced the things that I wanted to experience, which is why when Marilu started our relationship, I was extremely forthcoming with the things that I wanted to experience. So, so going back to what you said, talking about early on is really the best. And we've talked about this in other videos. But I don't care if it is 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years later. Sometimes people come across things that they didn't know that excited them. Right. 5, 10, 20, 30 years into it. Your partner just has to hopefully be a little more understanding.
Yeah. So. And, when it comes, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, if things aren't going right, you should immediately go for I want out of this relationship. Definitely, use all your resources, exhaust all your resources as much as possible as towards working through whatever the situation may be, first and foremost. But as I have talked to other people in their journeys, they were like, you know what? It was just that. It was a journey. It's like the saying goes, people come into your lives for, a reason, a season, and sometimes a lifetime. And when it comes to that point where you both know that, we had a good run and maybe we're both at different spectrums on our sexuality, on how we raise our children, or, whatever the reasoning may be, that hopefully you're both still understanding and loving of each other enough to say, yeah, you know what? You're right. We did have a good run and you'll always be my best friend or whatever. And maybe it is time to cut ties.
Yeah.
Or that may be.
Okay. That's okay. And I think there's this false narrative that's been floated around for eons that there's something noble in setting aside your wants and desires for the sake of the relationship. Mm-hmm. And, that's certainly, I would say that maybe for your kids, you're certainly going to make sacrifices. I mean, maybe you don't get to go out every Saturday night because you got kids or work or whatever. I mean, yes, you're going to make sacrifices, but ultimately those sacrifices shouldn't be at your own detriment, the detriment of your sanity or the detriment of your relationship. And what I mean by that is going out and cheating, doing things behind your partner's back, doing things without their knowledge. Mm-hmm. That's where things go really bad fast. And I speak from experience. I'm no angel. I've done terrible things in my past and I'm not proud of them. But they were all because I didn't communicate and I didn't communicate well enough. So, but I have to own that. So I'm speaking from experience. Have the conversation. As uncomfortable as it may be, and as weird as your fetish or kink might be, have that conversation. It's better than cheating and blowing up a relationship because you did something you shouldn't have done without your partner's knowledge. Mm-hmm. So take it from a guy.
Okay, do we have another question?
Yes, we have a couple of them. Oh. So in that vein, mm-hmm. Well, actually we got two. So we'll segue into introducing vanilla partners of the lifestyle. I personally think this is an easy one. We literally just laid it all out for you.
Right.
Have the conversation.
No.
I mean, that's it. We just said it all. How do you introduce a vanilla partner to the lifestyle? That's how you do it. Have a conversation.
Yeah.
And listen, if they're not into it, they're not into it. And if it's early enough in the relationship, divest of it. Oops, sorry. Divest of it and move on. I mean, yeah, maybe maybe there are other redeeming qualities that you like about them or are attracted to. You just have to decide. Actually, probably a good decision to make is, are the things that I want to experience strong enough that I'm going to do this behind my partner's back? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is yes, then you need to move out of that relationship.
Right.
Don't, it's not fair. So your thoughts on that?
I totally agree.
Okay.
Well, from the standpoint that, if you were in the lifestyle, now you're dating somebody who's vanilla and you're trying to figure out how to combine those two. One, yes, definitely have the conversation. Yeah, there has to be some conversation. Yeah. I'm going to bring this up because we know that it's happened at least once where someone has brought someone to the club, a partner, they've filled out their profile, done the whole thing, and then they bring him here and you could just tell by the look on their face that they're like, what the fuck? Yeah. Don't
surprise them.
Set them up and surprise them and like, hey, we're going to this new nightclub, and then have them walk in and be like,
yeah, that's a no-no. That's a no-no.
No. You have to have the talk. Never, ever, ever do that.
No. I have seen numerous times people attend the club together on a first date or a second or third date. And I'm only going to speak for the Body Shop, but I will say that more times than not, at least it seems like more times than not, that people that have done that with their new partners, because there's this negative stigma, the story you tell yourself about what the club is about or what you think the club is about is a lot more nefarious than what it actually is. And so people have brought their partners to the club only to realize, wow, this is really fucking cool. And not because it's their sex or whatever, but because everyone's so fucking cool. It's just such a laid back atmosphere. Mm-hmm. That's what I wish there was a way that we could explain that better to people, that it's just such a awesome environment. And I'm sure that's like that for many other clubs. So it's not fair for me to say only the Body Shop, but I'm only speaking from our personal experience here at the Body Shop. Yeah. Bring your partner.
Yeah. If you're going to do that, then have it be like the first time experience for both of you, something that you're sharing together. Definitely don't hide it, or don't hide that you've been to the club before, because that doesn't go well, especially when you're like walking up to the bar to get your drinks and someone's like, hey, how you been? Haven't seen you in a while. Da, da, da. And then they're like, oh, this is new.
Yeah. Don't start off your relationship by lying.
Yeah.
Be forthright. And listen, if they're not open to it, they're not open to it. Just fucking move on. And I don't mean fuck it. I mean, just move on. There's a
new relationship like that, then you, at that point in time, then that's when you have to decide if you're willing to compromise.
Yeah. For sure. I agreed. I would think that in a new relationship, I don't care if you have to do it 100 times. I don't care if you have to go through 100 people to find the right person. If it's that important to you, it'll be worth it.
Right.
So.
And at the same time, if you're single, we've noted in some past episodes that we've had some single members that have met their spouses here, that they've that's happened a lot, surprisingly. Hit it off, and then it's like, wow, this person is into the same things that I am. They're open to the lifestyle. They're here, and before you know it, sparks.
For sure. All right, so we've got two more.
Okay.
This is kind of an interesting one. We touched on it briefly. When testing out a fantasy, when did you know, and it becomes a kink? When did you know? When does a fantasy become a kink? You want me to start, or you want to start?
Sure, yeah.
I like how I get led to the slaughter. So, you touched on this a little bit. Fantasy being what did you call it? What did you say it was called?
A
mental.
It's your erotic imagination.
Erotic imagination. Thank you. I love that. Yeah, and I want to touch on the word fantasy. We have friends that I remember posting years ago something about, what's your fantasy? And their response was, I don't have any fantasies, because fantasies typically are things that aren't going to come true.
Right.
So an erotic, what did you say? What is it called again? Erotic what?
Your erotic imagination.
Your erotic imagination. We're going to use that. So your erotic imagination, you do it once, you didn't like it. Obviously, it's not a kink. Now, by kink, I mean, there's different definitions of kink and fetish or whatever. But generally speaking, if it's something that you decide after the first time that you really enjoyed it and you want to continue doing it, that's when it becomes a kink.
Yeah. When it becomes something that, once you get a taste of, it's like you can't go back. It's like you want to push the limits and like, I really like that. What else could we do with that? How else could we experience that? Can we do it in public? Can we?
What's next?
Yes. What's next? Once we cross this threshold, what's the next thing? Then it's a kink. If it's if I don't have it, it's I need it every day, at least twice a day, blah, blah. That's a fetish. I think.
Well, okay. So I'm gonna not push back, but so a kink and a fetish are kind of two different things. A kink is basically, in a nutshell, something that would not be considered typical, like spanking, and I would say spanking is probably a lot more typical than we think. But well, I'll use this as a segue to the last thing that we're going to talk about. Well, actually, there's two. I apologize. Cuckolding. Cuckolding, hot wifing. Okay. That can be a kink. Meaning it's outside of probably the norm, and therefore, it's considered a kink. Now, a fetish, generally speaking, a fetish is something that turns you on at the sight of or thought of. And it could be like, I don't, but let's say you have a foot fetish. Feet turn you on. That is a fetish. It's also a kink, but that's a fetish because it's not inherently, feet are not sexual. Maybe pens turn you on. That's a fetish. So generally speaking, it's something that isn't ordinarily tied to sex or sexuality. That's what a fetish is, in its purest definition. So, but fetishes can be kinks, for sure. So, all right. So yeah, that's, how do you know? You know when you know. When you want to keep doing it, like Marilu said.
When it's sexual need that goes like past desire and into a necessity, that's when you know.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're when you're there, you're definitely well on your way to establishing a kink. So, and maybe a fetish. So there's actually two, mentorship, mentee. That's all that was actually said. So I'm not 100% certain.
Mhm.
Let's touch on that.
Well, let's sidebar that one.
Okay.
Okay.
So Quinn says, here, I'll put this up on the screen. Quinn says the fetish is defined as a sexual arousal about inanimate objects, clothing, body parts, etc. Perfect. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say, and they said it much more eloquently and briefly. Thank you, Quinn.
Our cat has a fetish.
Yeah. Well, we say it's a fetish, but I don't know that it actually turns them on. One kid has a foot fetish.
There's been a few times where it's kind of like, what are you doing? And why are you doing
Why, you see a chubby?
I have. But
all right, this is getting weird.
Sorry.
Yes, we have a cat that loves feet. Fucking freak. All right, so you said you wanted to put aside the mentorship mentee?
Yeah, because I need more context with that.
All right. You know? Let me just touch on that. What I think it maybe is talking about is there other instances of sponsors, you know, like I'm like in my mind, I'm thinking like AA, like you have a sponsor that kind of helps you navigate the lifestyle. Yeah, I think that kind of exists. Is there specifically that? No, but there's definitely people in the lifestyle that you can connect with that will help navigate. And certainly Marilu and I would help. If you have questions and stuff about the lifestyle, we can help in that regard. So if that's what you meant, great. If not, I apologize. We didn't quite understand the question. So,
also,
all right.
Hold on. I was also going to say, excuse me, our member relations. People that give tours are also some great people that you can kind of connect with throughout the night if you have any questions about things and the lifestyle while you're here at the club. Sorry, I gotta get a drink of water.
That's okay. All right, so the last one, cuckold / hot wife. You know, and it was literally presented that way. So I don't know if it was, I doubt that they were asking, what does it mean? Because that's easily found out. I am assuming they want to talk about, is it common? Is it weird? Is it normal? You know, what do you think? I mean, is that what they're maybe asking?
Maybe, because I think for some people, there's varying degrees of what hot wifing is versus like being all in cuckold, you know, situation. You know, there are some things that correlate between the two, which obviously is, you know, having a hot wife, one, and wanting them to enjoy themselves, seeing them be pleased. And,
compersion.
Yes.
Thank you, Quinn.
But then there's like the more detailed, more intricate part of actually being a cuckold. And there's more details with that and how the couple communicates with that. There might be degrees of wanting to be degraded and having humiliation play out in your scenes. Yes, step one, have a hot wife.
Okay, so I want to talk about that briefly. Hot wife is really subjective. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't mean you've got this trophy wife or whatever. I think, you know, that
everyone is a hot wife. Period. That's that. And because it's all in the eye of the beholder, you know, the person or person. So everyone is a hot wife. Period.
The best way I can describe that particular scenario is this, and I've talked to a myriad of men who initially say, I can never watch my wife with another man. That would be terrible. I would be jealous. I'd be angry. I'd be upset. I'd be worried about her having a better time with that person than with me. And so I sort of come at it from this direction. We watch porn. I watch porn. And, I think more times than not, you're watching porn where a man and a woman are having sex with each other, and that's exciting and it turns you on. And my feeling on it is this. It's 10 times better watching somebody who you're already sexually attracted to, who you've had sex with, and enjoys having sex with you, be pleasured by another person. It's like your own, and I don't mean to make it, what's the word I'm looking for? God, I can't think of the word. Anyway, you're watching something and someone that's important to you, having fun. To me, it just enhances the scenario tremendously. I mean, we get to see people having sex all the time here at the club, but it's woefully different than watching your partner who you love and adore and enjoy being with, being pleasured. Compersion, that's so with that. And I've talked to guys who have experienced that after the fact, who were like, holy fuck, that was amazing. It was totally amazing. But the jealousy part of it is really just, like you mentioned earlier, the self-esteem issues, having sex with your wife or your partner or whatever, in a loving way is way different than your partner having sex with somebody else for pure gratification. That's my feeling on it.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
Well, I kind of pretty much gave my thoughts. I thought just more or less explain, that there are varieties of it and definitions of it. It's like, what better gift is there to receive than to receive someone else's love and attention, from their partner, knowing that, wow, yeah, I've been, that's my wife. I've been with her. I know what she can do. And dude,
I know that pussy feels.
Yeah. You have no idea what you're in for. I'm assuming some guys would be watching and being like, I know that move. Go ahead. Give it to him.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah.
Cuckolding is just another version of hot wifing. Mm-hmm. And it takes it a little bit further. Like you had mentioned, there could be some degradation, humiliation, things like that. Now you're getting into, you can get into some bisexual play, cream pies, now, I mean, there's there's a myriad of things that go along. Hot wifing is kind of like the first step, as Quinn mentioned, having a hot wife. But it's certainly, there's different degrees of that. So, and to be frank, it's a lot more common than what people think. Yes. We do a hot wife night at the clubs, and they're pretty well attended. And these are I think these are couples that are well adjusted to their relationship. That they would allow their partner. Now, what I've not seen is hot husbanding. I don't get to see a lot of that. Occasionally, because I get to see a lot of the profiles, or all the profiles, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Occasionally, I will see the female partner who says, I love seeing my man with another woman. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that or experienced that, or, in some derivative?
I have seen quite a few profiles that do have that in them. In my conversations with some of our members and some of the ladies that I talk to on a regular basis, it's definitely one of those things. that's out there. Maybe not as prevalent as hot wifing or the term, but it is out there. And yeah, there's quite a few hot ho-hos out there.
Hot ho-hos. What the hell does that mean?
Hot hubbies. Hot
Yeah, we got to come up with a name for that. I don't know that there's a name for that.
hot hose. Like hose, like fireman hose, hot hose, hot hosing. I don't know. Someone else know. What should we call it? What would you
We're going
call
to let the masses chime in on that one. Hot hose.
Okay, Quinn, what should it be called?
What is it called when a wife wants to see her husband with another person? Hot husbanding doesn't work. I don't know. God, that's a strange one. If we can come up with a name for that, we could probably make $1 million.
Hot hosing, hot. Well, I don't know. I just, for some reason in my mind, I'm thinking like a
fireman.
Yeah, a fireman. A hot guy. I'm thinking hot. I'm thinking fire. I'm thinking fireman. I'm thinking hose. I'm thinking.
Oh, that's great.
And I have not had anything to drink yet, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I know that I in conversations, like I've said before, I have heard, ladies make that statement. Is it common? Is it uncommon? I think maybe more uncommon, but
what makes it uncommon? What would if you were to take a stab at it, what would make that less common than hot wifing?
I'll say this because, let's be honest, women get sexualized more than I know. I said the
objectified. That's the word I was looking for earlier.
Yes. More than men. You see it obviously in porns. It's some things are driven more towards the male ego, I guess.
Well, it's certainly true that men watch porn a lot more than women.
Yeah. And most of the women that I do hear say that, I'd say the percentage is maybe 30-60 that they might actually be bisexual. So in sharing that experience and then seeing a female that they're engaged in also partake of their husband.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
this goes back to, are there more bisexual women in the lifestyle than bisexual men or, whatever, the unicorns.
Yeah. Well, and Quinn says it's uncommon, but
yeah.
But I think that's kind of one of the reasons it holds so, true.
Makes sense. That makes sense. I want to run through these comments real quick. Annabella says, Scouts was our first experience going to a club, and they were so nervous. Within 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I was so nervous. Same thing with the body shop. Came to you guys a week later, nervous again. It was the first time jitters, but within 5 minutes, it was good to go. That's a very common statement for a lot no, generally, it takes more than 5 minutes.
But
usually it's an hour and a few drinks.
No, but for a lot of people, when they just feel the vibe and, like I was saying, they find their tribe of people, of like-minded people. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. This is where I'm supposed to be. Uh-oh.
Empty.
So that's the last question, huh?
I think that's the last question. Let me see. Yeah, we talked about the mentor, mentee. Yeah, cuckold hot wife. I think we covered that. I don't know. Anything else? Anything random coming to mind you want to talk about?
No, I think we kind of were like, let's just kind of get through some of the questions from last week. Um, my retreat was wonderful. I had a great time. Met some wonderful ladies that are in the lifestyle, really from all over. Um, you know, I met people from from Vegas, from Minnesota, Missouri, Canada, Russia. Yeah, it was pretty interesting group of ladies. We did some really awesome events that I hope to be able to share with some of our members on one of our Sapphic Sundays. Our meals were fabulous. I think I explained to you we did a blind eating dinner, a blind dinner, and what it consisted of was all the lights were turned off and everyone had a blindfold, and your plate was served in front of you, and you were told not what was on it, but where things were placed. And then you ate with your fingers, and you had to describe what your meal was and like what spices you found. And it was definitely interesting. It was interesting. It was sensual, you know. But yeah, we did a lot of things that I was just like, wow, it was a great experience. I would recommend it if it comes around next year to anybody who might be interested. And like I said, I hope to bring some of those ideas, hopefully, to our Sapphic Sunday event.
So I'm going to ask the question that's on everybody's mind, because I don't know the answer to this either. Was there any sex involved?
Oh. I will say that there was one evening of skinny dipping, and a tantric massage.
Mm-hmm.
Amongst a few of the participants one evening, but I'll leave it at that.
By a few, do you mean you? Just for the record, I'm calling Marilu out in front of everybody because we have not talked about this part.
I will say that, I didn't get my usual stiletto nails, so they were a little bit more at ease to, And those ladies that know what I'm talking about, know what I'm talking about.
I would never tell. Boo, Quinn.
But again, it was a ladies' retreat.
I know it was.
We had moments of being very gregarious and enjoying each other's company. We had moments of sharing things of intimate nature and conversation. We had some moments of deep hugs and understanding. Oh, and we did the art expression too. That was cool.
What is that? What was that?
It was a circle of women that were naked. And huh?
I said that's a good start.
That was a good start there. We were all naked, and we had paint and like body paints, crayons, markers that were all washable, and we got to draw on ourselves and as well as draw on others and or paint on others, at the same time expressing body positivity. So as you were painting flowers on your nipples, you're like, I love my breasts. Oh, look at my flowers. I love your breast. That's so cool. So it was very, artsy and intimate to be, cool. Especially when you were in a room. Well, actually we were on the terrace, so we were actually outside, all naked, 20 women that didn't know each other the day before, and on your second day, you're all getting naked.
It's a good icebreaker.
So yeah, it was fun. I would definitely, when it comes around next year, I hope to come again, attend again.
Freudian slip, I think. Anyway, all right. Well, anything else? I'm trying to think. We've got the chat going on tonight. Actually, it's starting in about 15 minutes. That's on bodyshopclubs.com. So we've got the Hump Day virtual chat. Every Saturday we have I said the Hump Day. Every Saturday we have the virtual chat along with our regular events. Toledo's closed this weekend. So just the Canton, Pittsburgh clubs are open. I'm not even sure what are we doing this weekend. I got to look. Give me a second.
Oh.
I'm terrible.
We're starting to gear up for Halloween.
Yeah. Biggest event of the year. So Friday, we don't usually do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Friday's Pantyless in Canton. If you arrive to the club or take your panties off at the door, you get a discount. Friday in Pittsburgh is She Gets What She Wants. I think it's kind of derivative of Hot Wife Night, but it could be, with another woman or whatever she wants. It's all about the ladies. Yeah. Saturday in Canton is the Blackout Party. That's always a good event. That's glow sticks and things like that. We turn the lights out and it's very, very dark, almost like your blind food or blind dinner. Not quite. It's not that dark. We don't make you wear blindfolds. And then Saturday in Pittsburgh is Debauchery, which is kind of a new event. Basically, it's a exploration into kinks and fetishes and all the other things that you're interested in exploring. So it's kind of a open-ended come to explore. So, but then we'll have our virtual events on Saturday also. That'll be going on at the same time. And those are free for members. All of our virtual events, almost all of our virtual events are free for members. We provide that with your membership. And then for the events themselves, the actual events, there are door fees. So, but either way, you've got to be a member to attend the virtual or the regular events. So,
yeah,
that's about it. I don't know. We might jump into the chat a little bit later. If not, huh?
I was going to say I might have you have another glass of wine, and it's been a week.
It has been a week. We'll put it on the live stream. What we do, and then we'll be kicked off of all of the platforms.
You're always teasing.
For the record, you can do whatever the hell you want in our virtual chat. You want to masturbate, you want to have sex, you want to, tie each other up and spank each other. You can do that in our virtual chat. It is private. We have our own private servers. They're not, we don't, nobody else can get into those. So, yes, while we can't do this stuff on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, you can do it in the virtual parties, and you will see that. So, well, I shouldn't say it like that. You'll probably see it. But, all right. Well, that's about it. That's all I got.
Okay. That's it for me. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody watching. And for those of you that watch the replay, thank you very much for doing so. I hope this helps you in some way, shape, or form. And we'll be back next Wednesday with a different topic. We'll come up with something else. I don't know what it'll be. If you have some ideas, definitely shoot them our way. Throw some comments in, and we'll see if we can discuss them.
Yeah. So. And as well, any questions that you may have, just shoot us an email or a comment on here, and we'll look them up later.
What's your email, Marilu?
m@bodyshoupnightclub.com.
All right, cool. Yeah, send them to Marilu. I usually get them all. Send your questions to Marilu. Make her work for the money. She works hard for the money. All right, I'm out. See you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.
Night, guys.